October still hasn't left anyone's mind in Toronto. The image is still there, stuck, persistent. Blue Los Angeles jerseys celebrating, while silence took over the Rogers Center. And in the middle of that emotional chaos, a name appeared that nobody expected to carry so much weight. Trey Yesovich, a rookie, 22 years old, 3 regular season games. And yet, when October arrived, he was the one who climbed the mound and faced a moment as if he had spent his entire life waiting for it. Now, cut to the present. Spring training. And the Blue Jays are doing something that, for some fans, feels strange. They're holding Yesovich back. Carefully, calmly, almost like someone holding a rare porcelain piece. Because the truth is simple, and at the same time hard to admit. Toronto believes this kid could be the most important arm in the organization for the next several years. Yesovich still holds rookie status for 2026. That alone is already curious. Because when you look at what happened in last year's postseason, rookie feels like the wrong word. He finished October with a 3-1 record, a 3.58 ERA, and 39 strikeouts in 27.2 innings. But there is one specific moment that completely changed the perception around him. Game 5 of the World Series against the Dodgers. Extreme pressure. The series hanging in the balance. An entire season on the line. And they're on that stage where even veterans often tremble. Yesovich did something no rookie had ever done before. 12 strikeouts in a World Series game. The first rookie in history to reach that number. 12. In October against the Dodgers lineup. Now pause for a second, because that detail changes the conversation. This isn't just a promising prospect. It's an arm that has already faced the heaviest moment in baseball and didn't blink. But along with that performance came something that worries any organization. Workload. Yesovich threw a lot during the Blue Jays playoff run. A lot. High-intensity innings. Decisive games. October adrenaline. That kind of experience accelerates development, but it also comes with a physical cost. And Toronto knows that. That's why. So far, Yesovich hasn't appeared in a single Grapefruit League game this spring training. Not one. When he finally takes the mound, expectations are for clear limits. 3 innings, maybe 4. Nothing beyond that, even close to opening day. From the outside, it might look like excessive caution. But inside the organization, the logic is different. The goal is in April. It's October. Again. And here's where an interesting detail comes in. Yesovich will participate in Spring Breakout, the annual event that gathers prospects from all 30 teams for exhibition games over 4 days in March. The Blue Jays announced their roster this Thursday, a group filled with young talent from the organization. But the name that stands out the most, of course, is his, and that creates a curious situation. Because technically, Yesovich is still considered prospect, even after pitching in the World Series, even after dominating in October. The explanation is simple. He only appeared in 3 regular season games. He didn't surpass the service time or innings thresholds that would remove his rookie eligibility. So on paper, he's still there, in that limbo between promise and reality. Current ranking, the 12th best prospect in all of MLB, and the top one in Toronto's organization. Now think about the path he took. Drafted in 2024, first round, started 2025 in high A. A few months later, he was already on the 40-man roster. September arrived, and he was in the big leagues. October arrived, and he was pitching in the World Series. All of that in less than a year. That kind of rise isn't common. In fact, it's rare. And that's exactly why Toronto is tapping the brakes right now. Because there's a question that's starting to circulate among fans, analysts, people inside the league. A simple question. What is the true ceiling of Trey Yesovich? Rookie of the Year? Possible. A future Cy Young contender? Maybe. A franchise ace? Now we're entering territory that requires time. But the talent is there, and Toronto knows it. Especially when you look at the current rotation. The team brought in Dylan Cease in free agency to assume the role of a proven ace, a signing that immediately changes the balance of the rotation. But almost no one talks about a curious detail. Cease might be the ace today, but inside the organization there's a quiet feeling that Yesovich someday could surpass that level. Not now, not in April, but eventually. And that's exactly why the care this spring is almost surgical. Now hold that thought, because while the Blue Jays try to protect the future of the rotation, another story started gaining traction in the last few hours. And it involves a name many fans learned to respect deeply at the end of last season, Eric Lauer. And here the conversation changes tone completely, because unlike Yesovich, the dilemma involving Lauer isn't development, it's decision. Lauer finished last season with a 3.18 ERA, 15 starts, 104.2 innings pitched. Solid numbers. But raw statistics sometimes hide the most important detail. August and September. During those 2 months, Eric Lauer was the best starter on the Blue Jays. Not Gaussman, not Bassett, not anyone from the main rotation. It was Lauer, a versatile left-hander who entered the season without star status and ended up being essential down the stretch. But baseball is rarely simple, because while he was delivering on the mound, the contract situation was starting to tighten. Lauer wants to be a starter. Toronto has depth in the rotation, and his contract expires after the 2026 season. In other words, free agency approaching. That kind of combination always generates trade talk. Always. And that's exactly what happened when Mark Powell from Fansided published a trade idea involving the Blue Jays and, yes, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, those same ones. The simulated proposal is straightforward. Dodgers receive Eric Lauer. Blue Jays receive Kellen Lindsay, shortstop prospect. Brooks Auger, right-handed pitcher. Two young talents in exchange for an already established arm. On paper, it makes some sense, but this is where the debate starts heating up among Toronto fans. Because there's an emotional element that no statistical model can measure. October, World Series, Dodgers. That wound is still open, and the idea of sending one of the most efficient pitchers on the roster directly to Los Angeles doesn't sit well. Not at all. But the context of the proposal does have an explanation. According to Powell, the Dodgers could look for outside help after the poor spring training performance of Roki Sasaki. That would open space to seek rotation depth, and Lauer fits that profile perfectly. Left-handed, versatile, capable of starting games or working as a swingman, the kind of arm every contender likes to have. Now, let's talk about the other side of the table, Toronto, because this is where the conversation gets more interesting. A recent article from Blue Jays Nation raised the same question that's beginning to circulate internally. If the Blue Jays rotation is crowded and Lauer will soon be a free agent, wouldn't now be the ideal moment to trade him? An uncomfortable question, but a legitimate one, because market value rarely stays static. And when a pitcher is coming off a 3.18 ERA season, that value tends to be at its peak. But hold on for a second, because there's a detail in this proposal that many fans immediately noticed. The prospects being offered, Kellen Lindsay, Brooks Auger, interesting players, but neither even stands out inside the Dodgers' top 30 prospect rankings. And that raises an immediate doubt. Would Toronto really consider sending Lauer for that kind of return, especially to the Dodgers, especially after the World Series? The answer is probably no. Because there's a lesson the Blue Jays have learned recently. Never underestimate what Los Angeles can do with a pitcher. There's almost a folklore around the league about it. You send a pitcher to the Dodgers, and 6 months later, he's competing for a Cy Young. Mechanical adjustments, arsenal changes, aggressive data analysis. They turn good pitchers into something even more dangerous. And that possibility makes any front office a little more cautious, especially when the name in question is Eric Lauer. So we arrive at the central point of the story. Toronto is facing two narrative lines unfolding at the same time. On one side, a young arm named Trey Yesavage being protected as a long-term piece, an ace project, maybe the face of the rotation for the next 10 years. On the other side, an efficient veteran named Eric Lauer, whose future with the team still isn't fully defined. A useful piece right now, but with contractual clock ticking. That combination creates a curious dynamic inside the roster, because rotation depth is wonderful until the moment decisions need to be made. And that moment is coming. Spring training is still underway. Opening day is approaching. And every pitcher needs to find his place. Now, let me ask a question that some fans may not have considered yet. What if the real impact of Trey Yesavage isn't just what he does on the mound, but what his existence forces the organization to decide? Because when a prospect at this level appears, he changes the math, innings planning, rotation planning, roster planning, and sometimes roster changes. Suddenly, that comfortable depth becomes a puzzle. Who stays? Who goes? Who becomes trade currency? And it's exactly in this type of context that names like Eric Lauer enter the discussion. Not because the performance is bad, but because the organization needs to look 3 years ahead, not just 3 months. So, let's summarize the situation very directly. Trey Yesavage, 22 years old, rookie eligible, silent hero of last postseason. Carefully protected this spring because Toronto believes he could be a central piece of the franchise for the next decade. Eric Lauer, solid left-hander, 3.18 era. The team's best starter during the final 2 months of last season, but with an open contract future and potential trade value on the market. Two pitchers, two completely different moments in their careers, but connected by the same question the front office needs to answer. What is the best way to build a rotation that will take Toronto back to the World Series? Not just reach it, win it, because that's the part that still hurts. And while spring training continues in Florida, these conversations keep happening behind the scenes. Yesavage being prepared patiently, Lauer appearing in trade rumors, and Blue Jays fans watching all of it with that familiar mix of hope and caution. Because anyone who follows this team knows the window is open, The talent is there. But poorly calculated decisions can be expensive, especially when the other side of a possible deal wears blue and plays in California. Now the question goes back to you. If it depended on the Toronto fans, should Eric Lauer remain in the rotation for 2026? Or would you take advantage of his market value now, before free agency? And even more important, is Trey Yesovich ready to take the next leap? Or is Toronto right to pump the brakes this spring? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because one thing is certain, this Blue Jays rotation story is far from over.